The battle for the Republican nomination is getting even nastier. An anti-Trump super PAC ran an ad featuring a racy photo of Trump's wife, Melania, from more than 15 years ago.
Trump did fire back on Twitter, saying Lion Ted Cruz just used a picture of Melania from a GQ shoot in his ad. Be careful, Lion Ted, or I will spill the beans on your wife. Cruz said it's not his ad and said Trump would be a coward if he went after his wife. Today, Heidi Cruz addressed this.
You probably know by now that most of the things that Donald Trump says have no basis in reality. So we are not worried in the least. We're focusing on our campaign, and we are going to continue to do that. We have run our campaign with the principles that Ted and I believe in, and a lot of the things that are done from time to time are not from our campaign, and so I want you to focus on what our campaign puts out, which you'll find is a positive, hopeful, optimistic agenda for this country.
We're joined now by CBS News correspondent Dean Reynolds and Real Clear Politics national reporter Caitlin Huey-Burns. Now, Dean, I want to start with you. You see this back and forth. It seems pretty ugly, but we've seen low points in the campaign already from a number of different candidates. Do you think we're just going to continue to see this happen? Is this a new low point? When you talk about their wives, I think what's interesting is you have a Harvard MBA, and Melania Trump speaks 5 languages. I mean, these aren't dumb women.
Right. Well, I don't think there's any floor to this campaign. I mean, right now, I guess we're in the basement somewhere, but we're heading toward the drain. You know, Cruz does kind of a double backflip on this issue. He says that Trump is using this commercial to defame Cruz's wife, which I don't follow that logic, but, you know, I don't follow a lot of things that Trump has said.
You know, our own Bob Schieffer has said many times during this political season he has never seen anything like this in all of his time. Caitlin, Cruz in that discussion there did mention that this ad came from a super PAC. He didn't have anything to do with it. He doesn't know who's responsible for it. Is that really the case?
Well, he's not connected to this super PAC. It's an anti-Trump super PAC. But today, I think at this press conference was the first time we heard him denounce that ad specifically. So he says he's not related to it, and he's not. But again, this is I think that this is what we're going to see over the course of the next several weeks as Donald Trump and Ted Cruz have emerged as, you know, this is really a two-man race now. And both are really competing against one another. And so I expect it to get more personal.
Dean, obviously the big headline yesterday, you have the Brussels terror bombings that happened. Then you had a number of states that went to the polls in the Tuesday primaries. You had Trump winning Arizona, Cruz winning Utah. Cruz made the biggest headlines, it seems, from yesterday and today in his response to the terror attacks. He's calling for police patrols in Muslim American communities. What impact do you think these terror attacks will have on the race as we go forward?
Well, he's trying to purchase a little bit of Trump's real estate. You know, I mean, Trump is the hardliner against Muslim immigration, and now Cruz wants to send dragnets of cops into Muslim neighborhoods.
Is that a good idea?
Well, this morning he was asked, you know, how many Muslims are there in the United States, and he didn't know. And I don't know of specific Muslim neighborhoods. I know of Arab neighborhoods, but they're not all Muslim. So I think he's just trying to get a little bit of that Trump vote that you know, resonates with people who are scared to death of Muslims.
Yeah, I know that New York City Police Commissioner Bill Bratton had some choice words for that theory as well earlier today. Caitlin, you know, Trump now has 60% of the delegates that he needs to clinch this nomination. So how, once again, are we going, or how will they, the remaining candidates, stop this Trump train?
Right. It's more difficult than ever, I think. Donald Trump did win all of Arizona's 58 delegates last night. Cruz won 40 in Utah. But still, Donald Trump is ahead in the delegate count. And what's working against Cruz is that John Kasich refuses to leave this race. So he is still competing. And Ted Cruz's strategy moving forward is he still thinks he can win the nomination outright, which is really, really tough. I think he'd have to win, you know, over 70% left of the delegates. But to be able to prevent Donald Trump from winning the necessary delegates, he's campaigning in Wisconsin this week, hoping to peel off delegates there, and also, of course, in New York, where he was today, where we saw him earlier, really going congressional district by district, trying to scoop up as many delegates as he can, and then get to an open convention.
So today, House Speaker Paul Ryan ended up delivering an address on the state of American politics to a group of his peers and also some interns. We want you to listen to that.
Our political discourse, both the kind that we see on TV and the kind that we experience among each other, it did not used to be this bad, and it does not have to be this way. Now, a little skepticism, that is really helpful.
That he's talking about the high-minded.
When people distrust politics, they come to distrust institutions. They lose faith in government. They lose faith in our future. We can acknowledge this, but we don't have to accept this, and we can't enable it either.
So I want to ask both of you, but Dean, what do you make of the speech?
Well, it's nice. I mean, it's a nice high-minded ideal for the interns to see what can be done in politics, but it's juxtaposed to what we're seeing happening in politics. So it's kind of mournful, actually.
Caitlin, it almost seemed like a campaign speech in a way.
And all of the efforts to stop Donald Trump or to stop his rhetoric or to, to come out against his rhetoric, even though they don't mention him by name, it's really a question of too little, too late. Of course, he's still leading the field, and we're seeing today, these kinds of attacks, this kind of rhetoric is only going to continue, not going to be deterred by leaders. But what's so interesting today, watching Ted Cruz campaign in Manhattan, is just shows you a lot about what you need to know about this race. He's touting the endorsements of people like Jeb Bush and Mitt Romney. Ted Cruz is one of the most hated men in Washington, and is now kind of touting that establishment support as a sign that he is bringing in a diverse coalition of support. So it's just a remarkable turn in the race, I think.
Just curious though if that was their first choice. What I mean is from Romney.
He's the most hated.
Romney, yeah, from Romney.
I think Jeb was Jeb's first choice.
Right. So if we can talk a little bit more about what we just heard from Speaker Ryan there. I mean, everyone is still discussing the possibility of this brokered convention. Looking and kind of reading into maybe his statement there, is he leaving the door open for possibly his name being brought up at a brokered convention?
Well, Ryan has denied at every turn that he is going to be a candidate for president. But, all of these establishment type of figures, whatever that means now, but Republican leaders are really cheering for an open convention at this point, I think, which is, really telling that they don't really like the options that they have.
Well, that's Dean. Earlier, you were at the event with Caitlin in Manhattan, and Ted Cruz said, well, there's not going to be a contested convention. You don't have to worry about it. I'm going to be the nominee.
Right, well, he would say that, but, to have a brokered convention really risks alienating all of these people who have voted for Donald Trump. And, I don't think the party is suicidal. I think they want to settle on a nominee the old-fashioned way rather than have it go to 100 ballots or something like that. So they're in a pickle right now.
Right, and if Donald Trump doesn't get the necessary delegates, but is, maybe less than 100 or so away, I've talked to a lot of Republicans who say, oh, that would be really tough to pull it away from him then or contest that then.
Great insight, you guys. Dean Reynolds and Caitlin Huey-Burns, thank you both so much for being with us.